Lowdown. It's all brought to you by Pick Dawgz. Make sure you're clicking the like and subscribe button. That helps us out. And if you click the notification button, it'll let you know every time something gets posted here. A lot to talk about because there's some cool things coming up. I do want to bring up, I talk about it every day at the beginning, Concrete Inner Circle. If you guys are interested in that, text the word Inner Circle to the number that you see here. What that does is if you're, I try to make sure I'm not wasting anybody's time with this. If you're a high roller, if you're, I don't know why I'm having such an issue with my damn shirt. If you're interested in, if you're a big player and interested in a rated system with a lot of late breaking stuff, man, I've been talking about my prop plays for NFL and college. And again, I went 3-0 again last night. Maybe I should start putting those as premium picks, but I do give out a lot when I'm on the morning show, but that's Mondays and Fridays. I wanted to bring up some blocking and tackling stuff here with shows that are coming up. But real quick, while I finish with the Inner Circle, you got to text that word, and then you'll find out more about it and what we're doing over there. But appreciate anybody that's interested in that, so go check it out. Speaking of things coming up, so I jump on the morning show every Monday and Friday with Jay and the guys. And now we were talking about it. We were hoping to get it done for week 1. It didn't happen. I know Zeno was just calling me. If you guys haven't seen Mark Zeno, used to work with him here in Baltimore. Some of you might be familiar with it. Looks like we're going to do an NFL show and a college football show every week. So we'll be posting that. You guys can get your information there, and I'll let you know when all that's going on. But I think we'll have one posted this week. So just stay tuned, and we'll get on all that. But we've been going back and forth and trying to figure out how to do it. Initially, I think we were talking about doing a show every day. I don't know that I can make it fit my schedule, and I don't want to give up doing the solo pod because I get to record this whenever I want throughout the day, and it fits my schedule perfectly, and it gives me a chance to talk about what I'm seeing in the games. I did kind of tell you guys I was going to talk about some football stuff throughout the week. I just wanted to go over some things that I noticed from week 1 that maybe you saw, maybe you're thinking, because I think this is overreaction week 2. But with that being said, a couple of really good games. Commanders-Packers on Thursday night. Monday Night Football is the Chargers and Raiders, so another divisional game as everybody in that division has a win. Am I right in that? Yeah, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, and the Chiefs were the only ones that lost. Chiefs get the Eagles rematch there. I'll talk about that game in just a second. I think it's a really interesting week. Steelers going home for their home opener against the Seahawks. Do you think that offense is for real? I thought the Seahawks defense played much better than I thought they would, but that's the Mike McDonald effect. Talked about him before, former defensive coordinator for the Ravens. The guy's just brilliant. I would have loved to see him stay here, even as the head coach, but that's just me. And some of the other games, Cam Ward played much better than maybe you would think by looking at it. Calvin Ridley this week will not have to deal with the best cornerback in the league and Patrick Surtain, who was shadowing him for most of the game. Hopefully he doesn't drop any passes, but Rams are now coming to play them, and the Rams are 5.5-point favorites on the road. I watched the Rams game against Houston at home. They're okay. Maybe I'm overreacting to just what I saw in week 1, but we saw a lot of unders hit. I will tell you the Ravens defense is not as bad as it looked on Sunday Night Football. I still think they're going to have, even after giving up that 41 points, I still think they're going to have a top 3 defense by the end of the year. Offense looks spectacular. Browns can play them tough. Ravens have historically haven't had as many issues in Baltimore with Cleveland, but Cleveland has stung them a few times. Look, they've won here, but Cleveland stung them a few times when they're playing at home. Some other things here, Bears and Lions this week. I talked about it. I like betting against teams that have to go on the road after Monday Night Football, and that's where the Bears fall in, and the Lions did not look good last week. I think they might have something dialed up for their former offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Bears. So that's an interesting one. Jags offense, I think that Jags-Bengals game has a chance to be the highest scoring game on the weekend. Cincinnati's defense is just ridiculously bad. Let me see if there's any other games that really stood out points-wise. Chargers-Raiders could get interesting on Monday night. Commanders-Packers, that's a 48 total. The Jags-Bengals have the highest total of the weekend. Just looking at some of these games, things that I find interesting. Indy is a home dog to Denver. Again, how good is Denver? Did we overrate them? Tennessee could have easily won that game or at least made it a little bit more interesting. They were winning for a good portion of the time, and now Denver's got to go on the road. Are the Colts for real? I know people want to write them off, and Daniel Jones hasn't looked good, but now he gets a fresh start with a new team and a new coach that's going to put him in the best possible situation to succeed. I think the Colts are going to be better than you think. Let me go back to my Panthers team that I kept talking about that just totally shit the bed on Sunday. God, they look so bad. I think it's going to get better as the season goes on, but man, they just couldn't get anything done against a Jacksonville defense that wasn't good last year. We'll see what they look like this year, but yeah, I still think Carolina is going to be better. They had opportunities in that game and just kind of screwed the pooch with a 1st and goal and not getting in, the turnover in the red zone, just bad play, taking sacks, things like that. Some other things I found interesting: Bills at the Jets. So let me get this straight. And I don't know it's the same type of thing because Derrick Henry's special, but Derrick Henry broke off, what was it, a 30-some yard run, a 40-yard run? I think he had whatever. He had 3 huge runs. And now they go to face the Jets, and Breece Hall gets that Bills defense at home in New York, or technically New Jersey. Yeah, man, I think Breece Hall is very interesting this weekend. So when I start looking at my prop bets, he might be a guy that I target. But yeah, I don't know if I finished my thought process. I went 3-0. I was, what did I say, 14-4. Is that right? Yeah, 14-4, went 3-0, and now I'm 17-4 on props in college football and pro football in the season. So going to keep that thing rolling. Looking forward to Thursday night and finding some gems there. Now, was there another game I wanted to talk about? Got Giants, Cowboys. There was one more I wanted to bring up. Oh, the Buccaneers at the Texans. So this is back-to-back road games for the Bucs, and the Texans get their home opener. That's another one of those games that I think are tricky spots, and I don't mind saying it. I appreciate you guys watching. The 3 most interesting games to me this week are the Colts at home, that Philly-Chiefs game. Chiefs have been, or I should say Andy Reid has been amazing after a bye week, and I know this isn't technically a bye week, as the Eagles played on Thursday Night Football and they played on Friday night, but it is a couple extra days of rest. Kansas City coming home for their home opener. A little revenge on the mind. I think it's a very, very interesting spot for Kansas City. And you guys can read into what I'm saying by interesting. Same thing here with the Texans. I think the Texans are in a great spot. So we'll talk more about it, and I'll get to dive into the NFL games when Zeno and I are doing. I think it's the NFL Blitz and the College Football Blitz, unless he changes the name. But there we go. All right, let me dive into 4 baseball games and get this thing rolling, because we're going to run through this. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but we're going to talk about a lot of the teams we talked about yesterday. So, and maybe that becomes a theme. All right, let's talk about this. It's the Pirates at the O's. Wind is in at about 6 miles an hour, so not really much help there. Excuse me, it's 74 degrees. It's Paul Skeens Day in Baltimore, and I was hoping, we might get to see him on Tuesday night. I was supposed to go to the game then, and he's going up against Tyler Wells. So here we go. A couple different things. Orioles do strike out a lot. I think you can look at his prop, but it's going to be elevated. I wouldn't be surprised if he's at a 7.5, 8.5. I know 8.5 sounds like a lot, but man, can he K some guys? And Orioles had a lot of strikeouts in this lineup as it's constituted right now. If you've heard me talk about how I attack pitchers when they come off the IL, Tyler Wells was on the IL, came off for his first start, looked really good. And this is where I expect him to kind of have a hiccup. You don't hear me say bet the run line much, because I won't bet it on home teams. I just don't. It's a rule of thumb I have. I've seen too many games where runners get on and you don't care about it because they have a 2-run lead and the guy just runs around the bases with fielder's indifference, as they call it, and eventually scores. And that may be me being silly because there are some great spots where you could bet a home team to do that, but I just don't. I'm going to tell you to take the Pirates. I don't like being chalky because I think everybody's going to be on Skeens. I'm going to tell you to take the Pirates -1.5 on the run line. And I think you can even get cute in this game and take them -2.5 if you want to go that route. There's a chance that Tyler Wells gets beat up in this game. And yes, I understand it's the Pirates, but still, I think there's going to be some opportunities, as that's the first time he started in a long time at the major league level. So just, again, that's a rule of thumb for me, but I'm going to lean towards the Pirates and even tell you to take them -1.5. You can get kind of crazy there because I think there's going to be a bunch of runs scored on Wells. And you might be saying, well, why don't you just take Pittsburgh's team total over? I like that as well. I just don't have the number in front of me. It's hard for me to say, hey, I like it, and then all of a sudden it's an elevated number. But I do think they scratch out quite a few runs on Wednesday night. Let's go to the Royals and Guardians. Winds in at 6 to 7 miles an hour, 67 degrees. It's Michael Waka versus Logan Allen. Logan Allen, if you start checking, I'm not a game log guy. I'm not a huge BVP guy, but I do think there's some validity to it when you're looking at it and trying to find matchups. that you like. Most math guys will say there's not a large enough sample size against a lot of these pitchers to really say this is amazing or he's going to be great in this spot. Baseball's a weird sport as it is, but Logan Allen, I mean, he's given up at least 4 or 3 runs in his last 5 or 6 starts. I think there was a really bad one in there as well. Soft tossing lefty against the Royals. Royals do have some lefty bats in there that maybe he can nullify the power of Pasquantino. But there is a lot of righty power as well. And on the flip side, I'm not afraid of Waka, and the Guardians have been playing out of their minds at home. I love the Guardians to win on Tuesday. It was one of my favorite plays. It was a premium play. What else did I have? I usually talk about this stuff, but I was talking football, so I just kind of bounced around. I like the Guardians. I like the A's over on Tuesday. I was on the Seattle under were my 3 plays. I didn't put any WNBA plays up, even though I liked a few of those games. I just think we don't know the what's the right word? We don't know how some of these teams are going to approach their last few games in the WNBA. And it's very hard for me to sit here and say, yeah, this team's going to go out and play their asses off. If you know a team's trying to secure a spot, it's one thing. But knowing a team that's locked everything up and it's the final game of the season or second to last game of the season, whatever it is, you don't know if they have anything to play for. And if they just coast, if they want to win, they want to go on a good note. So I just stayed away from it. And sometimes that's the best thing to do is not bet anything. But I'm going to tell you, I like the over in the Royals-Guardians game, even with the wind blowing in. I think this could be a nickel and dimer game. Maybe we see a couple of long balls. I mean, the wind blowing in at 6 to 7 miles an hour is not a ton, but it still helps the pitchers. But I like the over there. Let's go to the Mets and Phillies. We talked about all of these games this week, I think. Wind is blowing in at about 8 to 10 miles an hour. It's 70 degrees there. We get Clay Holmes versus Christopher Sanchez. I'm going to lean towards an under here. Christopher Sanchez has just been great this year. Clay Holmes, he's had his moments. I know everybody was talking about him before the season and how good he looked coming in, and he's had a few hiccups. I think overall the numbers are fine, but it's just a matter of how does he match up with this Phillies lineup? And the same thing with Christopher Sanchez. Can he keep some of that Mets power at bay? With the wind blowing in, it's going to be a huge bump to pitchers. And I think the best play here is the under in this game, so that's where I would lean. Lastly, let's get to the D-backs and the Giants. Another interesting one with the wind blowing out, 9 to 10 miles an hour. I'll say it again, Oracle Park, the least affected stadium by wind. You need like 20 mile an hour winds to actually feel like 10 miles an hour there because of the water and how it negates some of the, the wind and knocking it down a little bit. So even when it's blowing out, it's not a huge bump. Conversely, Wrigley is the most affected stadium by wind. That's why when you see 10 to 12 miles an hour there, it feels like 20 miles an hour at some other stadiums. So this is a spot where you look at the pitching matchup and you're going to go Eduardo Rodriguez and Carson Seymour. And I know most people aren't going to know a ton about Carson Seymour. That's fine. This is a spot where, like, as I'm looking at it, Eduardo Rodriguez has been so bad this year. Just so bad. He's hitting so many bats. I prefer the lefty lineup of the Giants. That just might be me. But I still think he gets knocked around. I could see Arizona scored some runs here off of Carson Seymour and that Giants bullpen. And both of those bullpens right now, with the Giants trading some pieces away, I got no issue here. I like the over. The over is going to be a free play for me. It might even be a premium play. Got to see what the total looks like. But, obviously it looks like a good overplay to me. Now, make sure you're checking out everything over at pickdawgz.com. You get to see the leaderboards, who's hot. NFL just started. I had a really nice weekend in the NFL. I hit Monday night. I had the over. My prop plays, I think I talked about them yesterday, but had I not, and I was on Jordan Mason over rushing yards. He hit that. Said if he gets 10 carries, he's going to cover that easily. He did. We had Aaron Jones over his receiving prop. He got all that on that one touchdown. And I like Justin Jefferson under reception. So all of those hit. Been really, really good. I think my misses in college football, believe it or not, or my misses in the NFL, I had one on Sunday, which was, it was Brian Thomas to go over his yardage, and it just didn't happen in that game. He had a terrible game. He did have a touchdown, but just had a terrible game as far as receptions and yards and things like that. But on Sunday, I was all over Zay Flowers, and I even talked about on my pregame or our pregame show here in Baltimore about laddering him because his number was 58.5. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. He could get 100 yards against this Bills defense. And he did just that. He had more yards than anybody this weekend. So if people listened to me and laddered it, they would have won themselves a nice chunk of change there. What else? Definitely check out the premium plays I have going on over there. I actually have a really nice record in the NFL, even though I missed my favorite play. And as I said, I feel very fortunate that I put the Bills game out at the beginning of the week with the Ravens plus 1.5. So I end up winning that. I do feel bad for anybody that bought any of the packages because I know what people do. You see plus 1.5 and went to minus 1.5. You probably bet it on the money line and lost. I'm not, I know that goes on quite a bit. And as I said this before, I think there's some sharp guys out there that bought the 3-day package instead of paying for the 5-play or the 5-play on Saturday, my triple play, whatever. On Friday, they just come in and buy the 3-day package for $79.99 and you get all my football plays. That goes for everybody on the site. So if you prefer somebody else, definitely check that out as well. You can always hit me up on social media at JConn Sports. Appreciate you guys listening to this. Hope you win some cash, and I'll be back tomorrow with another podcast.